What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Zamboni. I'm a musician and astrologer, and it is time to talk about the astrology of the week ahead. As always, thank you so very much for being here. Thanks for rocking with me on a daily and weekly basis. If you like this kind of thing and you want to send a little support via Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, super appreciate all of that. Thank you so much for doing that. Hey, it's my birthday this week. So if you have been thinking about it for a little while and you want to send me a little something, then, happy birthday to me. Thank you. You can go to zambonifunk.com. You can get a reading there. You can find a bunch of music there. You can find a podcast there. There's a whole bunch of information about me. There's a pretty cool spot, zambonifunk.com. There's a bunch of resources there. I am doing a course right now called Astrology from the Ground Up if you want to learn how to do astrology. We are approaching halfway through the event, but if you feel like watching the previously recorded lectures in your own time, then you can still sign up for all that. So check it out. Send me a DM if you want to do that. Let's talk about the astrology of the week ahead. This week is we've got some early in the week, it's sort of like simmering down a little bit, but then by the end of the week, things kind of turn up in a pretty big way. By the time we have seen the turn up, then we've got the full moon in Taurus. And so this full moon in Taurus is going to be in late Taurus, so it's directly conjunct Uranus. Uranus is the planet of chaos and disruption and surprises and all this kind of thing, right? Wants to flip a table over a little bit, and probably wants to do it to something physical, not only because Taurus is like a very physical and embodied kind of sign. It's an earth sign. It's the fixed earth sign at that, but also because Taurus is ruled by Venus, and this week Venus is going to be moving into Capricorn. So we've seen Venus in Sagittarius for the last few weeks here. Venus is like moving along pretty quick at this point. And so now we've got Venus moving into Capricorn. I like Venus in Capricorn, honestly. I think that Capricorn is a pretty good sign for most of the planets. The luminaries don't like it there very much, but basically everybody else sort of does well with the structure of that placement. So Capricorn is associated with Saturn and can be sometimes associated with, I mentioned this last week, I mentioned that Capricorn can be associated with like tradition or convention or something like that, like wisdom that has already been passed down. Sometimes you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Sometimes all you have to do is roll, right? So Capricorn is really good at being like, hey, let's look at what others have already done and use that moving forward, right? And so Venus typically wants to talk about relationship, or wants to be connected or connective or cooperative in some kind of way. Wants to like put things and people together. And so I like Venus in Capricorn. Venus in Capricorn is very good for sort of like working out the structures, working out the boundaries and all this kind of thing. Like the way that I often talk about boundaries in the sense of relationships is like, okay, if we think about boundaries as being like a wall, but like it doesn't necessarily have to be a barrier, right? And it is kind of a barrier in the sense that it's like going to keep some stuff out, and in order to have room for the stuff that's in here. But like, we can think about a tunnel, right? So like, it's this idea that you can build some walls that will keep like the ocean out, for example, but you do that in order to facilitate connection between here and there, right? So this is the kind of thing that Venus in Capricorn is really good at. Venus in Capricorn is also in a sextile relationship to the ruler of Capricorn, which is Saturn in Pisces. So we won't see that perfecting until next week, but to see that aspect just kind of like operational for as long as Venus is in Capricorn does look like there is some potential for things to get flowing, for that connective situation to happen. We can remember that Venus is exalted in Pisces, and so there's almost a kind of mutual reception going on here, and it looks like it wants to work out or be helpful or flowing or connective in some kind of way that could be cute. I like Venus in Capricorn. I like Venus in this placement. Venus in Capricorn is also quincunx to Mars and Leo. So that is to say that they don't really make an aspect to another, they're averse. And so that is Venus sort of like skating by Mars and making a nice relationship to Saturn, which is the other no boy. So like things look like they want to work out in some kind of way here. So I like this kind of situation. It does look like it is very practically oriented, right? So when it comes time for the full moon in Taurus, then that's going to want to flip a table. It's going to be, and like it's pretty emotional about stuff, right? The full moon is opposite to the sun. The sun is in Scorpio. You know, the sun in Scorpio is pretty like emotional and moody in the first place, right? That's kind of how Scorpio gets down. But then the full moon is like, you know, it's the high tide. We see a lot of strong emotional stuff going on here, and then make it conjunct Uranus, and there's all of this disruption that wants to take place. So disruption of systems that have maybe been working for a while, or, you know, if we're thinking about relationship systems that are already operational, right? That's our Venus in Capricorn ruling the situation, right? Then a disruption to that might actually be like conventional wisdom is not cutting it right now, and so we might need some kind of innovation. We might need some sort of disruption in order to move things forward in some kind of way that is most beneficial for us. And so this does look like a moment, especially toward the end of the week, where we might have some like big feeling stuff going on, especially when it comes to finding new or better or unconventional ways to relate to the people with whom we want to relate. So that is especially interesting because as well, at that same moment later in the week, then we've also got Mercury in Sagittarius opposite to Jupiter in Gemini. That is with mutual reception. They Jupiter rules Sagittarius, Mercury rules Gemini, and so to see that opposition, you know, there are worse oppositions to see than that one, but it does look loud. It does look potentially argumentative. It looks like it's got a lot to say about stuff. Now, Jupiter tends to want to confirm things, wants to say yes to things. Mercury, that's less Mercury's vibe. Mercury wants to say things. You know, Mercury is a bit of a trickster, you know, like wants to, two-faced, right? And we've got Jupiter in the Mercury sign here, like maybe like feeling some two-faced vibes. And so there is something here about sort of upending things, or again, this looks very jokey. It looks like sort of a good way to discover strong insights about the nature of the world is to create a joke or a question about it, right? And so, and to do it loudly with Mercury there in Sagittarius. And this opposition, you know, there's a dynamic tension between opposites that can sometimes be a little bit of conflict, or it can be a little bit of, you know, a little bit of a jab in the side or something like that, like, ooh, you know, like doesn't necessarily feel good or fun. Well, I don't know, it depends on what you think is fun, right? Like exciting, it does look exciting, right? Especially since we've got the full moon with Uranus at that same time. Like things are not boring during this time, right? It looks like a moment where, especially if we're thinking about like, all right, so relationships that are already operational and some kind of disruption that makes those, that pushes that style of relationship forward, then having some uncomfortable conversations might be something worth doing under skies like this. You know, this is rip the Band-Aid off kind of energy, right? Like maybe I've been thinking a thing for a while, or been feeling feelings that I didn't necessarily know how to name, but there comes a point where working through it, workshopping how I'm going to talk about it, and just being like, all right, like, let me give it a shot. Let me try some things. Let me see how that lands. Let me, you know, revise it along the way. And that can be a way to maybe bring some relationships into something that can, you know, if Saturn in Pisces is associated with world building and this kind of thing, like, and connection and like the fantasy or dream world in some sort of way, then Venus in Capricorn making a sextile to that looks like there's a lot of good potential to get toward the kind of relationship or relating that you want to do, that you maybe have had in your heart, the more beautiful world that our hearts know is possible, right? But it might require some kind of break, some kind of rupture in order to get to that place. Thank you so much for being here. Check out Zamboni Phone.